Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Four podcast. No Alex, no Luke today. Alex just isn't here. Luke, who knows? Nobody really knows where Luke is. So we'll see what happens with that. And Mike is here, and we have our special guest, Heath, here. Heath is a big friend of the podcast. He's been on here before, so welcome back. We got some football here for you. I know all of our listeners are probably just finishing up watching that Michigan State-Purdue game, and just a very tough loss for the Spartans after it looked like they were going to start turning things around. But yeah, I know that Spartan offense, I've been told all year by Mike that Spartan offense was just an explosive group. But yeah, they looked really good there in the second half. All right, so let's get to the playoff reactions here. Alabama, Notre Dame. Alabama takes care of business pretty easily. And Ohio State with a pretty surprising blowout win over Clemson. Heath, we'll start with you. What do you think about these games?
Well, the Clemson game, just that tough ejection for targeting in the second quarter for Clemson, with their captain of their defense. If anyone was a quarterback for a defense, it would be that player. I think it was Erickson for Clemson. That brutal targeting call that he got ejected on. Then after that, Clemson's defense just had no answer because they just had no one leading them. They were headless. And then with Notre Dame, it's just, what do you expect? Notre Dame has not won a New Year's Six bowl game in how long? They're complete frauds when it comes to playing big teams. And honestly, they should just go to the group of five at this point because they can beat up on bad teams all year. But then anytime it comes to playing an actual team with all their players, they just get exposed for the frauds they are. Notre Dame's still living back in the 1920s when they were, and that was the last time they were actually fucking good.
Okay. Mike, what do you think about these games?
Ohio State, good win. Clemson team, obviously not as good as we thought they were. Offensive line, not good enough. Defense, not good enough. Head coach, not good enough. Play calling, not good enough. Ohio State took advantage. Good win there. Alabama did what they're supposed to do against the Notre Dame team that is not very good. They played in the Big Ten. They'd probably go, if it was a normal year in this Big Ten, they'd probably go 8-4, 9-3. They're just not a great football team. They played an easy conference. They got the beneficiary of playing just nobody. And if they played Wisconsin, they would have lost. That game went off. They would have lost to USC. Stanford would have given them a run for their money. And next year, they're going to lose to Cincinnati. So, rough year for them. Alabama, good win.
Yeah, okay. So, let me address that Notre Dame point real quick. So, Notre Dame, if I know Mike just bows down to the talent composite. So I'm going to take a look here at the talent composite, and Notre Dame would be number 2 in the Big Ten behind Ohio State. So
okay, so that's a coaching issue then. Fire Brian Kelly because he's got the talent, he just can't win. How about that?
Well, they're in the playoff, so I mean they lost.
Well, they shouldn't be.
They lost a more talented team.
What does the net rankings say about them?
What? What are you talking?
What does the net ranking say about Notre Dame?
I don't know what the net rankings say. But I know
exactly.
But I know that Notre Dame lost there, and Alabama's a very good team. Good win for Alabama. They took care of business. As for the Ohio State game, I thought it was going to be close. It was not, and I thought if it was going to be a blowout, Clemson would have won. And Ohio State surprised a lot of people, including me. They played a complete football game. Justin Fields actually showed up in a big game. Got to give him credit. Made some big throws. They got some pressure on Lawrence. Just a good game plan all around. Ohio State, very good team, very good win. So yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next topic. A topic that I find very useless, but Mike has put this in here. What conference are you most impressed with in bowl season?
I'd have to go with the SEC. Just how well they've played. Even their bottom teams have played well against these top teams from other conferences. It kind of shows how strong the SEC is.
Yeah, the SEC had a terrible bowl season. The best conference probably got to go with Big 12, go undefeated. But the Big 10's the best conference in college football right now. I don't even think that can be debated. You look at a team like Ohio State, what they did to Clemson. You look at, an Indiana team. The only reason why they lost is because they didn't have their quarterback. You look at these SEC teams making bowl excuses. I don't think they're excuses. They just aren't as good as these Big Ten teams. Auburn, a team that
okay, let's calm down.
Very good.
Mike, stop. Mike, this is what you're doing right now. You're trying to instigate an argument because you're in a bad mood, and just stop.
Mike.
No, I mean, we got to look at the future here. It's not just this year.
Number 11, Indiana. You cannot talk.
And the SEC, listen, it's not just
ranked Big Ten teams.
Half the SEC quit on their bowl games. Iowa would have blasted Missouri. We all know that. Yeah. We all know if Indiana had their quarterback, they would have won that game.
So, Mike, you know what we should do? We should look at the talent composite. And we can see that
results on the field.
Okay.
That's the most important thing.
All right. So Mike says Big 12. My turn. I agree with Heath. SEC. Obviously, this Florida-Oklahoma game. Florida
you can't beat a group of 5 team by 1 point. You can't do it.
My turn. And we
can't do it.
All right, that's a mute. So we have Florida.
You can't do it.
Florida, who just didn't care about that game.
You can't do it.
Florida, who didn't. I'll kick you from the meeting. Florida didn't care about that game. Obviously, they had most of their starters out, so, whatever. And, Mississippi.
Oh, I forgot about that game. Oh, Oklahoma.
We already talked about that last week.
Somehow Oklahoma's the best
late
team
news.
We
already talked about that last week.
Best team in the SEC, right? They beat Florida by 30.
Okay. Mississippi State. 3-7 Mississippi State beats Tulsa. A ranked team.
Okay, that's a group of 5 team.
Ranked team.
You say they're not the same level.
Georgia didn't care for 3 quarters, then beat Cincinnati.
Not true.
Auburn didn't care. They didn't have a head coach, so whatever.
Not true. Gus was still in their minds. It was still Gus's offense.
4
year, and they still won.
4-6 Kentucky over ranked NC State.
Well, I just told you the ACC is a joke.
4-5 Ole Miss over number 11 Indiana.
Okay.
And A&M taking care of business. So the SEC.
Bowls only matter when the SEC team wins.
That's right. That's right, because they get the benefit of the doubt. So
that's BS.
So good job by the SEC.
BS.
All right, we're moving on. Devontae Smith.
So when the Big Ten loses in the first round of the NCAA tournament, they're like, oh, they just didn't try, didn't care, didn't matter.
Listen, there's an argument to be made that because the Big Ten has not won a championship since 2000. So We'll see what happens. I think they're in a good position to compete this year. We'll see. All right. I mean, obviously not Michigan State after what we saw today.
Just because they get screwed. The Big Ten always has a bunch of great teams, but because they all play each other, they get lower seeds and they end up getting bad matchups. And that's why the Big Ten hasn't won a championship since 2000.
No, that's just not true. It's because they've always have depth, but they don't have they're not those top teams. But this year, I think it's a little different.
True.
This year, I think it's a little different. I think there's some top teams there. All right, let's move on. Devontae Smith wins the Heisman. Was this the right decision? Heath.
Well, I mean, he had a very good year at Alabama. It was between him and Mac Jones in the end, and Mac Jones really just set him up to win. So I think, he deserved the Heisman. It's always great when you see someone who isn't a quarterback win the Heisman.
Well, I know Chris has been a big Ian Book guy, and I think he had him winning it in the last podcast.
What?
But, that's ridiculous. I think we all know that.
What are you talking about?
They got it right. For me, it was between him, maybe JT Daniels, and, they got it right. Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I agree. They got it right. I'm just a little I know Smith took some votes away from Mac Jones, but I definitely think he should have had the second most first place votes. I know Lawrence did. But yeah, they got it right. Devontae Smith.
The fact that Kyle Trash was even on that, was even in New York, or whatever you want to call it, the proverbial New York. That's absurd. He was the most overrated quarterback I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it probably should have been Najee Harris.
Najee Harris should have been Elijah Collins. It should have been Rocky Lombardi over Kyle Trask.
All right, so we're going to move on after that. The University of Michigan and Jim Harbaugh have agreed to a 5-year extension. There are.
Oh, look.
Hold on a second.
Sources
Let me
right
finish
again.
reporting the news. I believe there is a low buyout, which is
Great news.
which is an encouraging sign. But actually, not really, and it's just not.
Not.
Chris,
Yeah.
You.
any payment for Jim Harbaugh.
Let me finish reporting the news. So yes, Harbaugh is back. This year is probably very important for his future, or not, because I thought this year was. So who knows? The school's a joke. The program's a joke. But I'll let you guys talk first. Heath.
Chris, I wanted to defer this to you because we all know you have a bunch of pent-up rage that you want to spew. The Michigan Wolverines hiring their bum coach back. Honestly, any money spent on Jim Harbaugh could be spent elsewhere for Michigan on paying their recruits. Honestly, what has this guy done for Michigan in his tenure? Lost Ohio State every year, loses bowl games on the regular, and coaches the team to lose. Frankly, I think all Michigan fans out there need to boycott this team and boycott the entire athletic program to send a message to the athletic administration that they don't want this bum anywhere near Michigan athletics. Michigan football will not be good until this bum is gone. Maybe 5 years after he's leaving is the next time Michigan will be good. He sucks and blows.
By the way, Heath, you brought up an interesting point there. I want to ask Mike about this real quick before he talks about Harbaugh. The paying players and cheating. Georgia is possibly involved in something. So I just wanted to say that's why Mel Tucker was recruiting good classes at Georgia.
Well, nothing's been proven. Nothing's been. No investigation has been filed. I'm sure it's the same BS that's been happening. Probably the Miles Bridges $400 thing. Probably nothing will happen, especially because it's Georgia. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to slide this L right into your mouth, Chris. I've been saying this is going to happen for months upon months. You denied it. You're in denial. But it happened. It's pretty much exactly what I said was going to happen. It's a pretty short-term deal, 5 years, not a lot of years. Low buyout, low base salary, incentive-based contract. If you look at the incentives, they're pretty hard to accomplish. Winning the Big Ten, what does he get? Like $50,000 for that? Yeah, that's not happening. Getting to a New Year's Six bowl game, that's probably not happening. Beating Ohio State, I don't think
that ain't happening.
But it's getting to the college football playoff was one of them. That's not happening. But yeah, I mean, good for Michigan. It's good for Michigan State. I mean, it's good to know we have the coaching and recruiting advantage for the next 4 to 5 years. It's good to know that Michigan's going to hire some defensive coordinator with no experience calling plays.
All right, so let me just interject for a second because you just said
let Mike finish.
No, Mike just said something patently false. So I need to interject. He says they're going to have.
He let you finish. So
he just said they're going to have the recruiting advantage. The recruiting advantage. Are you kidding me? The one thing that Harbaugh has done well is recruit well. Your coach sucks at recruiting. Look at your class this year. It sucks.
Let's look at everything I've said over the past 3 months about college football. It is all come true.
Mike just knows that Michigan and Michigan are on the same level of suckitude.
Mike, your coach can't recruit. Look at your class.
You're just mad. You're just mad that Michigan State is going to be better than Michigan in a couple years.
I'm not denying that, but you will not beat us in recruiting.
Oh, wow. Recruiting. Yeah, we will.
No, you won't. No, you won't.
All I just said is piss off. Michigan State is going to suck for years and years and years. No, I just know, we all just know it takes something to know one. So I just sees the same kind of bullshit that's happening in Michigan State. It's happening with Harbaugh at Michigan. See, the state of Michigan is going to be a football wasteland for decades to come because both schools won't fire their shitty coaches.
Well, Mel Tucker's a great coach.
No, he's not. He's horrible.
He's proven that over the years.
All right.
Jim Harbaugh is a bad coach, and he is an okay to below average recruiter. He hasn't gotten the right guys in, and when he has, he can't develop them. Mel Tucker has proven that he can.
What?
And
you went 2-5.
A damn good football coach for us.
2-5.
Well, Chris,
A
they
team with
only
0-7
went 5
talent, and they
because
took
it
them
was
to
a
2-5.
Big Ten only schedule. I mean, they would have picked up some quality wins versus like Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan.
They might have lost to them.
Michigan,
They lost to Rutgers.
Michigan Tech, if they played them.
Okay, well, it's my turn
Lost
now.
to Rutgers, yeah, but we beat
You know
two
what,
top
Mike?
15 teams.
Mike-
and a
Oh
top
my
10
God!
team.
Stop quoting Michigan as a top 15 win.
They
Okay.
are. Was it not a top 15
No,
win?
it's not. My
They knocked them
turn.
down in the record books as a top 15
No,
win.
it's my turn. Because I've been in a bad mood today. I will say, Mike, the audacity of you to hand me an L after your basketball team just took possibly the worst loss I've ever seen in my entire life watching regular season college basketball. So you have no grounds to stand on handing people L's
I don't care
tonight.
about college basketball. I've always been a football fan first. Always been.
Well, okay. There's your excuse here. So
not my excuse.
Harbaugh-
It's an off year.
Harbaugh,
It's a bad year.
Harbaugh. Mike has called it. I'll
Take
give him
that
credit.
L. Slide that L right into your mouth.
I'll give Mike credit. He called this, so good on him.
I called everything. I'm gonna win the picks by 13 games. I've called every coaching firing and hiring weeks before it's happened.
No, that's
and
not
I'm gonna
true.
Call that Michigan
No,
State's gonna
no,
outrecruit
no.
Michigan.
No. 2 days before Gus Malzahn was fired, you said, I would be shocked if Gus Malzahn was fired. Then you said, I would be shocked.
He was in deep trouble.
I would be shocked if Tom Herman's fired. We'll get to that in a second.
Well, the only one that caught me off guard was Tom Herman. The rest of them didn't.
Well, actually, you didn't call Jed Fish going to Arizona either, so there you go.
Yeah, well, I don't care about the Pac-12.
Harbaugh, sucks. This program's going nowhere. The only thing that gives me hope with the University of Michigan is the basketball team. And we'll see how that goes the rest of the year. But this football program is a complete joke. There'll be a middling.
How about your hockey team? You beat Michigan State 9-0.
I did see that.
You need to admit, just like Nick with BC, that you're becoming a hockey school.
Yeah, well, Michigan's in the top 10, and they haven't lost a game all year in basketball. So, good there. The football team, they're going to be a middling team until Harbaugh's gone, at the very least. You
don't trust Mike McDonald to build that defense?
Yeah, actually, I am encouraged by that hire because maybe Jim Harbaugh is actually taking some advice from his brother, who's an actual good coach.
His brother didn't want him.
Also could be the case.
Never. He's once again another Michigan coordinator that's never called a play in his life, just like Josh Gaddis. Really worked out well for him so far.
Well, this is just I'm not that surprised, but Michigan, the football program is just a complete joke. Like, I don't know what else you could say. I'm considering. No, I can't do that. But I'm at a loss for words. This is ridiculous. What are we doing? Okay, I can't.
I mean, Chris, it's obvious that either Ohio State has somehow hijacked your athletic department, or simply, Michigan Athletics just wants to be little brother for years and years and years.
No. They have to keep him because he's a Michigan man, and they can't fire a Michigan man.
Differently. That's right. They do things differently at Michigan.
Complete joke.
They have what people in the South would call a losing mentality.
Yep, they do. All right, we're moving on. I can't take any more of this. Some more coaching news. Tom Herman has been fired. Steve Sarkisian hired at Texas. Jed Fish is going to Arizona. We talked about that last week, but Don Brown will join him as the defensive coordinator. And Urban Meyer is interviewing.
Well, did you see what the Wizard reported, Chris?
Yes, the Wizard has reported that Don Brown is.
What graceful information has the Wizard?
The Wizard has reported that the Cowboys are interested in Don Brown as a defensive coordinator. So we'll keep an eye on that. The Wizard has also reported that Urban Meyer is going to Jacksonville, and he is interviewing with the Jags. So we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, that might be the first one that the Wizard gets right. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Has Oilers quarterback Deshaun Watson requested a trade according to the Wizard yet?
Nope. The
Okay.
Wizard hasn't reported that yet.
All right. So anything to say about these hirings and firings, Heath?
No surprise there. I mean, these coaches are on the way out, and their teams and schools knew when it was time to leave. Unlike some schools in the Big Ten, mainly in the state of Michigan. Frankly, it's always good to change things up every once in a while. And when it's time to change the ups, good things can happen.
Love the hire of Steve Sarkisian. You look at the track record; it isn't overly impressive. Started head coach at Washington, went down to USC, got fired for getting drunk at a booster meeting in the middle of the season. But he then went to Alabama. He was a analyst there. Then was the offensive coordinator for one game, and then went to the Falcons for a couple of years. Went back to Alabama. Listen, he reminds me of Tom Herman, only I think he's going to be a much better recruiter than Tom Herman was. And I think he's just a better coach than Tom Herman, way better. He'll have his team ready to go. The offense will be innovative. He'll be recruiting at a high level. Yeah, there's still questions whether he's still head coaching material. Whenever you go under Saban, you can kind of see, what he, the program he runs, and you can try to emulate that. George has done that pretty well. That's kind of the comparison I would kind of give. He kind of reminds me of the Kirby Smart of the offensive side of the football, because he's a very smart offensive mind, which is what you need in today's college football. And I think he can mop up in recruiting down there. Don Brown, I feel like this Jed Fish experiment at Arizona, it's either going to go well or really bad, and there's no in between. Maybe what Don Brown does, maybe that could work better in the Pac-12. With that type of talent, it's not as good. I would expect Jed Fish to try to run a pro style of offense and try to, he wants to win games probably 17-10, which is like the old Michigan teams. So maybe that would work out. How about my guy Brian Harsin, Chris? He's assembling a great staff at Auburn. He got the Vanderbilt coach Derek Mason. He got him in. He's his defensive coordinator. He got Mike Bobo, offensive coordinator. He just got some guy who's used to play at Auburn as like the cornerbacks coach. That's a big get. You got to get those former players. He's building a great staff there. That's what he needed. I think Brian Harsin's going to build something. And also another thing I forgot to put in, Dan Mullen has significant NFL interest. I think if an NFL job opens up for him, he will 100% take it. And that, of course, would open up the doors for other coaches to try to take the Florida job.
Dan Mullen's, just to touch on that, Dan Mullen, you know who he reminds me of? Bruce Arians. He is so smug, and he will never change in his ways. And he's honestly, some of his offensive scheme is very good, but he is a horrible game manager. Just reminds me of Bruce Arians a lot. So we'll see what happens there. Tom Herman, it was time at Texas. Good hire, of Sarkisian. I think it's a safe hire. I don't know how much boom you get there with him, but he knows how to run an offense. We see that this year. So, good job there. They win the press conference with that one. Let's see if they win on the field. Don Brown. I just don't think that's going to work because Arizona does not have the talent Michigan did have for the first, 3 years when Don Brown was at Michigan. The talent they did have in the corners and safety positions. Arizona doesn't have that. As for Urban Meyer, that's interesting to me. A lot of these college coaches don't work out in the NFL. A lot of these dumb plays that Urban Meyer runs, I don't think those are going to work in the NFL.
The swing pass?
Yeah, I think that's a dud. I think that's a dud.
I think you're on crack.
I think Lawrence is going to be a very good NFL quarterback, but I think Urban Meyer is a dud NFL coach.
Listen, I'm not biased. I am a little biased because I'm a Jaguars fan, but I think Urban's a great motivator, and I think he respects the hell out of the players, and they will respect the hell out of him. He's not going to be the offensive coordinator. Urban Meyer ran a spread system, and he was kind of the creator of it, but he never called the plays.
Well, yeah, but nobody runs that spread system. Who runs it? The Arizona Cardinals, who at times just have no running game, and they struggle to score. They are very streaky on offense. That's the only team that runs that.
The pro game and the college game are different. he's going to run the spread system, but it's not going to be the same.
It better.
It's going to be.
They're
going to run. It's kind of like how when Joe Brady went from the Saints to the LSU. It was a different, even though it was the same type of system, it was different. It's going to be different. It's not going to. It's going to have an NFL flair to it. But he's going to hire the right guys. I think any assistant coach would love to go with him. Jacksonville, you got time, plenty of time. You got plenty of cap space, plenty of draft picks. I'm not afraid. I'm not worried about that. He'll definitely get the staff. Really, I don't see how this can't succeed unless his health is a concern.
It's going to be a dud. That's my take. All right. Well, unfortunately, Luke is not here, so we cannot have our coach's hot seat segment.
I can do it.
No. Luke is the king of the coach's hot seat.
How about Michigan? Jim Harbaugh, number 1 on the coach's hot seat, just gets an extension. You love to see it.
All right. So we'll bump this into the picks. So we'll preview the national championship game. You can tell me who you think's going to win and why, what each team needs to do to win. The picks, Mike is going to win the picks. He's up by 12 games on me. He's up by 26 games on Luke. So there's that. The closest I can get is 11. I'm assuming we're both going to pick the same team here, though. So, Heath, what's your take on the championship game? Ohio State and Alabama.
We all know Alabama's probably going to win because kind of this high-powered offense is probably this mid-level NFL offense that they have. But I think Ohio State's going to put up a fight. I wouldn't put it past Ohio State to put up a fight, keep this close. We're either going to see an Alabama blowout or a very close game. But in all honesty, the NCAA needs to do something about these super teams that keep developing at Alabama. You can't have a fucking mid-level NFL team every other year. It's just not fair to every other team. In reality, there's only about, let's say, 10 programs in the country that have a shot at a national championship.
That's a great point. And, Mike, I don't know if you want to talk about this a little bit more, but the recruiting aspect of college football has completely taken over the actual play of the game, and that is, for me,
how's that?
For me, that has turned me off. Because the teams that are the highest in recruiting are always there at the end. I want to see teams who develop
players.
That's
just how it works. If you have more talent, you
yeah.
win.
Well, that's always how it works.
They need to start regulating recruiting. Honestly,
this is why I like college. This is like I like college basketball more because recruiting doesn't matter as much. You can develop your players.
That's just the nature of the sport, Chris.
Yeah, I know, but it turns me away. I know this sounds crazy. There's got to be a salary cap. There's got to be something, because it's out of control. The top teams are just completely taking over the sport. It's turned me away. I'm a college football fan.
I agree with you.
But I am not as much of a fan as I have been the last couple of years. Maybe that's because Michigan's not good, but still.
There's a reason why these teams are at the top. It's because, to be honest, they just care about it more than everybody else. They have better facilities. They have more money. The boosters give them more money to build new facilities, to get better assistant coaches, great assistant coaches, and, of course, head coaches.
I'm fine with that. It's just that it's not fair when Alabama gets 25-star recruits every year.
It is fair.
It's not fair.
Yes, it is.
Look at the Big Ten. Honestly, in the Big Ten, only Ohio State has a shot at the championship every year.
Yeah.
It's one of those chosen blue bloods. Michigan.
Guess what? Ohio State. You know why? Because Ohio State cares more than everybody else.
Never had a shot at winning a championship under the college football playoff format. It is just too broken. They need to start just regulating.
We got to the playoffs, so
they only have this many recruits on campus. They need to level the playing field. In all honesty,
I agree.
Well, if Michigan State could get to the playoff with a bunch of 3-star recruits, I don't want to hear any excuses about it.
Yeah, well, they're not because the committee will shut you out because you're not a blue blood.
It's a fair point. That's why I've been saying 24 teams.
No. They need to go back to the BCS format. As much as the BCS format didn't produce quality national championships,
it's too late now. They can't go back. Anyways.
Or even, hey, do this. Go entirely to a format of computer polls.
All right.
They should just average out all the polls. Make sure the college poll's in there because you got to have a representation.
We got all the college polls.
Back to the game. Yeah, obviously the two most talented teams in college football. If you look at the talent composite, I guess Georgia's probably more talented technically, but they aren't coached as well as these two teams. I think the two best coaches in college football, I think Ryan Day and Nick Saban are the two best coaches. Probably two of the three best quarterbacks in the country, Mac Jones and Justin Fields. And wide receiving cores. What's the similarity between these teams? Great receiving cores, and they both have really good offensive lines. Also, I mean, they just built from head to toe. Both teams. Both teams have defenses that are leaky, but that should make for a high scoring game. I think it's just hard for me to not say Alabama's the favorite in this game. I think they are. There's just too many weapons. We've seen how leaky Ohio State's defense could be against teams like Indiana, where they just Michael Penix, who was just destroyed them. Sean Wade, who's been really an enigma all year. He's to be honest, he sucked all year. He played a good game last week, but he hasn't been amazing. So, I think Alabama's going to win. I think Alabama's going to cover the 7. What is it, like 7.5? They'll cover that, I think. But I wouldn't be shocked if Ohio State won the game. Obviously, I think this national championship game is going to be very close. It's going to go down into the fourth quarter, but I think Alabama will pull away in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, interesting matchup here. Actually, Mike said it pretty well comparing the teams. Leaky defenses, both teams offensively built very well, but I can't look at – my problem with this game is I can't look at any position, any single position on the Ohio State offense and say they are better than Alabama at this position. I don't see one. So that's where my problem is in picking Ohio State in this game, and that's why I think Alabama's going to win the game big. Because they are just better at every single position than Ohio State on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the only way I see Ohio State keeping this game close is if Trey Sermon just absolutely goes crazy. They have to possess the football. They're not going to outscore them. They're just not going to do it. They have to stick to the run. I know Ryan Day struggled with that at some points this year. We saw it early in the Northwestern game. They struggled with sticking with the run. They're going to have to do it, I think, in my opinion, to keep this game close. But I just don't see it at all. I think Alabama's going to win this game big, and it's going to be another college football playoff blowout. Not good for the playoff, but good for Bama. The dynasty rolls on. I remember last year after they lost that game to Auburn, I came on the podcast and said Alabama will win the championship next year, and I was laughed at and said and Mike and Luke both said the dynasty is over.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. I'll pull the clips.
No, Bring up the tapes. I never said that.
I will pull up the tapes.
There's no way in hell I said that.
After the conclusion of this podcast, I'll pull up the tapes. I remember you saying something like, "Oh, I don't know where Alabama goes from here," because I've heard that before with many teams from you. But that's my take. Alabama probably like 62-30, something like that.
62-39.
Yeah. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
62-39, Alabama. Okay. Anything else to say before we leave?
I'm going 68-58, Alabama.
Okay. Do we want to mix some little hoops here before we leave? Maybe a little Michigan,
sure.
Maybe a little Michigan State Purdue breakdown.
Sure.
Mike, you want to talk about your team?
You want me to talk about my team?
Go ahead.
They're not good. They're not going to make the tournament. That was a game they had to win. Didn't win it. Last minute, had a chance. 4-point lead. Henry misses the free throw. That was the start of everything. And I can't blame him. He made basically every free throw before that. But he missed that. Go down the floor. Phantom foul call. I'm not blaming the refs for the loss. We lost, not the refs. But that was a phantom call. Gets to the they make 2 free throws. It's a 2-point game, and we can't inbound the ball. I saw it coming. This is a team that for the past, I don't know how many years, they play horribly in last minute situations. If we win games, we usually win it by double digits. And if we're ever in a close game, we just never seem like we're ready, coached well in that situation. And Rocket fumbles the ball out of bounds, which we've done all year long. I told you, we're number 1 in the Big Ten in fumbling the ball out of bounds. We did it again in the biggest spot. Williams gets the free throw line, makes 1 of 2. And, of course, the ball just magically finds Zach Edey's hands, and it falls. And, of course, Purdue – I thought we had the arrow, but apparently Purdue had the arrow, so they get the ball. And It's a good play. It was a good play drawn up by Matt Painter. I'm not going to really get too into it. I know Izzo was taking a lot of heat for not having our bigger guys out there. But, really nothing you could have done on that play. He was going to make that. It was a well-drawn-up play. And then, you got your best player, a layup to win the game. Oh, I mean, it was contested, but, you can't be too upset about it. Obviously, this team's not going to make the tournament. They choked the lead away. They went a 12-minute stretch without scoring. They're not good. They don't have a leader right now. Henry played all right, but not good enough. Hauser, he made a couple big shots, but he wasn't good enough either. We're going to lose against Iowa. I mean, here, I have the schedule up. We've got Iowa twice, Michigan twice, Ohio State twice. We'll probably lose to Iowa twice. We'll lose to Michigan twice. So what is that? Well, that's 8 losses in the Big Ten. We're going to lose to Illinois. That's 9. We'll probably split with Indiana, so 10. We'll split with Ohio State, 11. We'll lose to Rutgers. So I think we're going to go 8-12 in conference play this year. And we'll definitely be on the bubble. I don't think this team's going to get in. I think the 22-year streak is over. I don't see it.
All right, that's ridiculous. Michigan State's going to make the tournament. But I like how we only got a little bit of time here, but I like how just throughout the year, Mike has had so many opinion changes on this team. A couple weeks ago, he was where he is right now. They suck. They win a couple games, and all of a sudden, I'm texting with him today, and he's telling me about how Hauser's better than Wagner, and Watts is
it's like, not the players, it's the mentality.
Watts is the second best player on the floor if they played Michigan, and all this.
I was half joking about that.
Yeah, all this stuff, and it's just a horrible loss. I was also told.
When is Chris going to learn that every time I say something in there, I'm trying to piss him off?
Nope. So today, I also heard in the first half how great Michigan State's defense was on the big guys. It was so encouraging, considering they're going to have to play Dickinson later in the season. Oh, look at this. Trevion Williams, 26 points, 9 for 14 shooting.
Well, I'm not – yeah, I mean, he played well. I'm not going to lie. But, we played pretty well in the first half. Second half, he played really well. He got a shit ton of free throws.
Mike.
That's the thing we do. We foul way too much.
Mike.
What?
Well, I also don't understand why Aaron Henry only gets 8 shots in this game.
I mean, they defended him very well.
You got to find the guy. You got to find him. You have to get him shots. Josh Langford cannot be your leading shooter.
All right.
He played. Right. Josh played well enough. He sucked in the second half, but he played well in the first half.
All right.
Hauser made a big shot, but I mean, he can't get his own shot. That's the problem with Hauser right now. He's good when he can get a shot, but he's not very good at getting his own shot. Here's what we need. We need Rocket Watts to become the player that he used to be. That's what we need.
Okay, before we close out, I would just like to give a shout out to the undefeated Drake Bulldogs, who have a massive matchup.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Big Four podcast. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Heath, for coming on. Hope to see we can get everybody back next time. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in.